Hello bobbers, it's Theodora here, your all-round bobbette, and in the next few moments I'm going to be going through the new bob updates with you. Lots of exciting things coming up. But to begin with, let's have a look at our main page. Now, of course, we've still got our options of languages, okay? So if you need to change anything there, you can do so. Under settings, we have a very new exciting update, which is that of the bleeding status. Now, this will allow you to take a photo of your patient's mouth, and that will be saved underneath their score. So now we can see before and afters, and they too can monitor themselves, and this utilises a very strong visual and motivational aid with that photo. Also, don't forget that we do have that option. If you have any technical issues, you can send off a form to our help support team here. Fill out the form, send it off, and they'll be able to support you. Now, setting up our new patient, of course we need to add in any new patients that are coming to our practice, popping in their name, their last name, their email address, and of course their all important date of birth, and making sure that we gain consent from them so that we know that they're happy for us to proceed with some bobbing. So once you've completed that, the new patient will be created, and that's when you can start your bob score. There we go, Bobbers Point 3, because this is the new and updated Bob version 3. So of course, to begin with, we still have our missing teeth, crowns and implants, and it moves in a clockwise direction as usual. And remember, this is very important from a behaviour change perspective, not overwhelming the patient with too much information. That's why we only have missing teeth, crowns and implants. And also, this information is saved for future appointments, so you don't need to input it every single time. Now, from an educational point of view, you do have that option to flip that chart and have an overview for the patient, so it's a mirror image of their mouth, so that they can learn and understand the foundations, what are in their mouth. And that's very important from a behaviour change perspective, learning the foundations and building that behaviour upon them. Now, that all important bleeding on interdental brushing index, as you can see, we've still got prime and perio brushes, and now the non-IDB, which includes single tufted brush, floss and others. So really nice new exciting points there. Now, to begin with, if for instance we want to just pop in one interdental aid, we can do so by holding that button down, and it will infill all of that area, that complete sextant for us. Now, very exciting is that we can now do the same with the bleeding present button. So you would just hold that bleeding present button down, and it would infill all of that sextant with bleeding. So you don't need to keep clicking, which in the past we had to do. And again, inputting whatever aids you need to place. Perhaps here it's yellow and green, and again holding down that bleeding present button to infill that complete sextant. So we're really saving a lot of time here by having this new feature. And of course, we've got that new feature, that button non-IDB, where we have the options of, say, floss, for instance, we might want to pop in there, and also the single tufted brush. So that's absolutely brilliant, because for instance, here we've got an implant. Perhaps we need to recommend to use a single tufted brush where there's a missing tooth and an implant. So now the patient can see that, and they will have that on their mouth map, which they receive via email, of course. And then perhaps popping in some bleeding if it is present. Moving on to the lower arch there, again we can pop in whatever aids we need to. Here I've put in the yellow CPS there, and putting in any bleeding. Now the floss, again here, it's still the grey colour, but you can see there's different shapes here. So we're using different shapes to use it as a visual aid for the patient, so that they know when we're not using the brushes, which are usually circular in shape, they know again it triggers it's something different. So this is really going to help support us in aiding and speeding up our appointment time and offering more options for our patients. We've still got that lingual and palatal button as well, so if we need to recommend the aid to come from the lingual aspect, we can pop that in there. Now again, before we continue, it's so important we complete our touch to teach with our patient. And to support us in doing this, we need to get up that full mouth map. But first of all, have a look to see if perhaps we've put too many aids in. Because, for instance, right now we've got a yellow, a green, single tufted floss and others, 5 aids. It's probably too much. So while our patient is having a rinse out, we can now have a review ourselves and make any changes that are necessary, because when we're talking about behaviour change, it might be a bit too much to start with 5 aids. We might want to just go back and change, drop it down to perhaps change it from green to yellow, so reducing the size there, reducing the numbers, so that our patient is more accepting towards making these new daily habits with cleaning in between their teeth. So then when we get that chart up again, as you can see there, we've only got one interdental brush, we've got some floss and also that single tufted brush. So, you know, we're not bombarding the patient, we're not overwhelming them with too much information. Behaviour change, we need small, simple steps for our patients. So we need to sometimes change our chart. And then we can flip it into the patient view by clicking that button on the lower left. Now the patient has a mirror image of their own mouth. They can see where their bleeding is, what aids they need to use. And this is where we do our touch to teach with the patient, guiding them and supporting them in learning how to use the aids that we are recommending to them, so that when they get home they can get their mouth map up, get their aids out and feel quite comfortable and confident in using them. Now, bleeding status, this is so exciting. This for me is an absolute winner. We can now take a photo of our patient's mouth. So this is a great visual tool, you know, from a motivational perspective. They can really see what's going on. You know, it's not just all about the numbers now. And as you can see here, I flipped that camera. I've got my cheek retractors in, which again you can do with your patient, so it's clearer, it's easier to see. You take that photo, great picture there, save it. If you need to take it again, you can do so. So don't feel, you know, too pressured. You can retake it if you need to. Save it, and then we get that all important overall score. Again, we can educate our patient on their score, you know, really discuss what's going on with inflammation. We would then have all of our different scores, which that photo is now actually with each score, so we can review. And that mouth map, as you can see here, we also have each number or description of the aid next to each colour. So again, if the patient needs, they need to remember what exactly that colour is, they also have a description of what that aid is and what aids they need to use here. So what brush in the perio or the CPS range, and then a little affirmation or a recommendation that you can pop in here. Cleaning in between daily is always my favourite. You save that Bob score and then finish. So everybody, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. That's Bob 0.3. I really hope you enjoy the new updates, you utilise them, and, you know, support your patients with them. Have fun with the new updates, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Take care everyone. Bye bye.